Well, this year marks the 25th anniversary of Unity's World Day of Prayer. For 25 years, we have been holding on this specific day a consciousness of restoration, a consciousness of renewal, a consciousness of oneness that is so deep and so strong that hundreds of thousands of lives have been healed. It's a consciousness that Unity as a movement has been teaching for over 125 years. Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, the co-founders of Unity, called their religious background eclectic. Charles grew up isolated on an Indian reservation outside of St. Cloud, Minnesota, and Myrtle grew up in a small town in Ohio called Pagetown that had one church, a Methodist establishment. But over time, Myrtle found that the teachings and the philosophies of metaphysics provided her with a reliable and repeatable methodology of healing within her Christian context. Charles worked tirelessly, like forever and forever and forever, looking to fit those same teachings and philosophies of metaphysics into the construct of Christianity. But he also studied Transcendentalism, Rosicrucianism, he studied Hinduism, he studied all kinds of religion, pretty much anything he could get his hands on. So can you imagine if Charles Fillmore was still alive today and had a computer with a search engine? I mean, I can't even begin to fathom what we would find in a Unity textbook. A lot of people think Unity is small. And it's true that we're not like the Catholics or another world religion. We don't have a pope. We don't have a Mecca. We don't have ancient scripture. We don't have lost temples. We don't have 1,500 years or 2,000 years or 3,000 years of tradition. But what we have is the best of all those creeds and all those religions. What Unity has is universal truth. The teachings from Jesus are mostly what we articulate, but those teachings are ultimately the same teachings that were espoused by the Buddha, which were ultimately the same teachings that were espoused by Muhammad and Mahavira and other master teachers. One of the best beliefs that I think Unity holds as a movement is this one. We recognize the divine within as the one common denominator we share on our human journey. Would you be willing to consider that our human journey is one of spiritual evolution? And would you be willing to consider also that each and every one of us has an integral role in that human journey of spiritual evolution? Those are two very big questions. Would you be willing to consider that our human journey is one of spiritual evolution? And would you also be willing to consider that each of us has an integral role in the spiritual evolution of all humanity? And if you don't immediately get a full body yes, that's okay. Then my next question is, would you be willing to be willing? Oftentimes when I'm grappling with a concept or an idea that is outside of my current understanding, something that seems so wild and outrageous that, well, and even if it's something I don't agree with, but it's coming from a source that I respect, I feel frozen with fear. And then I feel frozen with fear that I'm going to be frozen forever. And I feel frozen with fear that the person or the source that I respect might not like me, or I might learn to not respect it anymore. And my way of getting unstuck is just saying, wow, if I'm willing to be willing, then I can carry on the conversation. Because it may be that together we discover a whole third way that wasn't even conceptualized before. Or that in my expanding consciousness, I can, oh, I totally get it. I totally get it. But I had to be willing first. I had to be willing to be willing. I think the first question really has everything to do with our holy purpose. It's about why we're here. The first question is really about what is the meaning of life? The meaning of life, this is why we're alive. We're here to expand consciousness. We're here to have a greater understanding of our oneness with God. We're here to have a greater awareness of our own wholeness. We're here to expand consciousness. The second question really has to do with a realization that there's a requirement involved. We are required to participate in this spiritual evolution. Other people on the planet itself requires our participation. The planet and other people require our participation because we're the ones who inspired personal transformation. Just think about it for a minute. One courageous thought of wholeness can heal and bring us back to health and well-being. One courageous thought of harmony can heal us in places that we didn't even know were dark. One courageous thought of love can heal a relationship. A collection of thoughts that are courageous can heal us. They can heal our friends, our communities. We can heal our earth. We can heal the world. We can heal the universe. We can do this by holding a collective thought. And that's what World Day of Prayer is all about. It's about holding a collective thought, holding a collective affirmation. I am a healing presence. That's what the affirmation is for this year. I am a healing presence. I am a healing presence. Would you say that with me, please? I am a healing presence. Now, you may never have thought of yourself as a healing presence before, or perhaps you frequently think of yourself as a healing presence. But it is as a healing presence that we begin to support ourselves and support others. The world needs you. The world needs you. The community needs you. Your friends need you. You need you. Because we are this healing presence together. It starts here within us. It starts with a thought. It starts with a prayer. That's the foundation. That's the beginning. I've heard many times over the last several years in particular that thoughts and prayers are not enough. And I believe that's true, but they're crucial to our beginning. Thoughts and prayers are crucial to our foundation. We are encouraged by others to rise up and fight against something, to come at it tooth and nail so we can eradicate it. But what do we get when we immerse ourselves in hatred? We get more hatred. When we immerse ourselves in violence, we get more violence. But when we immerse ourselves in wholeness, when we fully immerse ourselves in a consciousness of being a healing presence, we begin from that rooted place to make choices, to make decisions. Choices and decisions lead to actions, and actions lead to the outworking of the vision that we've been holding all along, that we are a healing presence, that we have the courage within us to stand up and be love, harmony, wholeness, that we bring about healing. Reverend Linda Martella-Whitsitt, who's the Vice President of Silent Unity, says, healing happens when we realize the truth that we cannot be anything other than whole because we are one with God. God is the very power of wholeness, of completeness, that nothing could ever be missing or broken or wrong about us. I don't know about you, but there are days when I feel broken, when I feel that there's something wrong, when I feel that there's not enough. But the healing happens when I remember the wholeness, even if it's hard. Rabindranath, I almost got his name right. Rabindranath, thank you. Tagore says, if you want to see me healed, if you want to see my wholeness, look at the scars from my healing. It's not easy always to remember the truth of us. It's not always easy, but it can be done. A leader in intuitive medicine, integrative medicine, is Rachel Naomi Remen, and she says healing may not be so much about getting better as it is letting go of everything that isn't you. All of the expectations, all of the beliefs, and becoming who you are. That takes courage. The word courage comes from the Latin cor, and cor from Latin means heart. And when courage first came into use in our language, it really meant standing by one's core. What a spiritual practice. What a universal spiritual practice to return to the core. Return to center, to go within. When we want to align our thinking with divine mind, what do? We go within. When we want to stand and be courageous, what do? We go within. When we want to remember our wholeness, we go within. Because it's that kind of courage that allows us to make the choices and take the actions to bring about the outworking of that vision we want to see for the world. It takes courage. Mark Nepo wrote a book called Finding Inner Courage, and he said this: the courage we all admire, where ordinary people summon unexpected strength to run into burning buildings or to stand up to tyrants, whether an abusive father or an abusive leader. This inspiring and mysterious impulse to rise to a dangerous situation grows from another kind of courage, inner courage. By inner courage, I mean the ground of quiet braveries from which the more visible braveries sprout. Courage is an array of small and constant efforts that no one ever sees, but which have changed the world. The courage to face ourselves, each other, and the unknown. The courage to see, to feel, to accept, and to heal. We are the healing presence. I am a healing presence. And as I return to my core, and as I invite you to return to your core, from that foundation of wholeness, those many moments come with many practices, and many practices turn into many actions, and many actions grow into those braveries that we want to see blooming in the world. We have the courage to walk through a door of seemingly nothingness into a realm of realizing everything. We have the courage to break life-draining patterns and create new stories for ourselves, new stories that are wondrous and filled with joy. We have the courage to build upon our past rather than hide in it. We have the courage to choose compassion over judgment, to choose love over fear, to choose to be the healing presence for ourselves and for others. With World Day of Prayer, there are so many opportunities to engage in and show up as a healing presence. Writing the names on the list like we've been doing for the past 3 weeks is one way. Showing up here at Unity of Wilmington on Thursday at the top of every hour to read the names, Let me tell you, it takes 20 to 35 minutes, depending on how many people show up, to read through the hundreds of names. Because we, as readers, have a commitment to be the healing presence for you. So show up and help us read the names. Show up and avail yourself of the energy healers that will be here from 11 to 7. Show up, bring people to the movie Heal, and find new ways to be courageous in your choices, in your decision making, in your actions. It just takes one. One change is all it takes. One little teeny tiny shift in you creates a whole big shift on the planet. A whole big shift. And it can be something as choosing to use a paper straw. It can be something as easy as that. Or it can be as courageous as looking in the mirror in the morning. We have an opportunity to engage in community prayer on Wednesday, and I wanted to give everyone here an opportunity to witness what that's like, to be held in prayer by community. So